Hello, you guys. Luxura Moon Goddess, and today we will be discussing if money doesn't buy you happiness, it's because you're ungrateful. So, let's get into it. With that being said, we understand in our society, or we should understand, the more money you have, money allows you to do much more than without it. And that's just a fact of life. When you have more money, you have more options to buy things. You have more options, you have more things that you can obtain than the person who doesn't have as much money as you do. So, with that being said, I would personally believe that money can buy you happiness. And a lot of times, if money does not buy you happiness, it's probably because you spent it on the wrong thing. If you're not spending your money wisely, of course it's going to make you unhappy. Of course, if you're just spending money frivolously, then of course it may not make you happy. But a lot of the times, people who have money, and a lot of times the ones that do have money, are the main ones saying, oh, you don't need to have a lot of money and you don't need to have money to buy, money doesn't make you happy. And they like to point out examples. The main examples that they point out of this are celebrities who commonly go through mental issues or things of that nature. Because they have a lot of money and a lot of celebrities aren't truly happy. My thing with that example is that if they're not well or something's going on mentally, here's the thing: they have the money and the access to get help. Most people in America, if you're going through something mentally, first of all, if we talk in terms of mental health meds cost money. Any type of medication, at least in America, can cost an arm and a leg, even with insurance. And that's just a fact of living in America. That's just how it is. Not only that, but if they need therapy or, counseling, things of that nature, that's also going to cost money. So, with that being said, if you're going through something mentally, but you have money, you're better off than most people in America because you can afford the access to get help. That's the thing I never understood when they say people, it doesn't make you happy. People go through things mentally. They can be miserable. They can be depressed. The celebrities and stuff, people with money, they have access to it. If they really wanted to get better, they're the main ones that have money to get access to that sort of help. A lot of the times, people who have a lot of money and you're spending it and you're not happy with your life circumstance or what have you, it's because you're spending it on the wrong thing. That's just a fact. You're spending it on the wrong thing, and you're probably just ungrateful. Mm-hmm. I can say from personal experience, and obviously I'm not the richest person in the world, but the times that I've been on jobs, the times where I'm making more money, the happier I am. I have accepted about myself is that I am a materialistic being. I just am. I love shopping, and I shouldn't be ashamed or, be judged for, even if people judge me, I don't really care because I love to shop. That's just how I am. I am a materialistic being. And for me, spending money on items that I really love, really enjoy, because again, you need money in society. Even when people say, hobbies and things of that nature, you need money to do your hobbies. If you're into, for example, making art, art supplies are a lot of times are not, if you want the good quality art supplies, they're not going to be cheap. Cost of art supplies, if you want an easel, if you want good acrylic paints, if you want good acrylic markers, that stuff costs money. So even when it comes to hobbies and things like that, you need to have money to pursue your passions. So, for me, from my personal experience, money just makes me happy. I like making more money. When I'm on jobs where I'm making money, it makes me happier than on jobs on jobs where I'm not making a lot of money. That's just who I am. It's just the nature of the beast. I've accepted that I'm a materialistic being. I like having little knickknacks. I like having items. I especially like buying clothes. Oh my goodness. I love buying clothes. I love fashion. And when I'm not able to spend money on the things that I enjoy, I will admit it does affect me. I understand the point of saving money, and you do have to save money and be wise with your money, especially in today's times. At the time of this video, gas prices are like out of control and it's ridiculous. But anyway, with that being said, you still have to kind of have some money to splurge on your passions, to splurge on the things that you enjoy. So, back to the topic at hand. If money doesn't buy you happiness, a lot of times it's because you're ungrateful. You have to change your mindset. You have to change your mindset. Because you have to remind yourself, especially if you're somebody who is more well off than most people in America or most people in the world in general, you have to remind yourself that most people cannot afford what you're able to afford. For example, when you have money, you have the option of choosing any car that you really want. For example, most people who don't have a lot of money, they're not rich, they're not wealthy, or they're not even upper class. They have to be wise when it comes to choosing a car. Somebody with less money may have to choose a car based on reliability, based on gas mileage, things of that nature, because they're not going to be able to afford another car for a while. When you have money, you can choose a car. You can basically choose any car that you want to. You can choose a car simply because, I want a cute sports car. You don't have to be purchasing a car based on reliability, maintenance, things of that nature, because you have a wider range of options. The person with less money, their options are things like a Honda, a Toyota, a Ford, things of that nature. When you have more money, you can buy the Toyota, and then you can also buy, let's say, the Rolls Royce, or the Bentley, or the Porsche, because you have the money. Now, with that being said, you should be grateful if you have a lot of money and you're well off. You just have to change your mindset. You have more options than the average person does. hmm And with that being said, because I'm talking primarily about spending money on materialistic possessions, sometimes if money doesn't buy you happy, think of spending money on experiences instead of just materialistic things. Things like, going out to a nice restaurant, or going to a really nice concert, or going on vacation. A lot of times, when you spend money on experiences rather than materialistic possessions, that can make you more happier than just buying materialistic items. Because not only are you purchasing, like in the example of, let's say, a vacation, you're not just purchasing a vacation. You're going to spend money on the hotel, spend money on, the trip, going down there. Then you're going to, of course, buy souvenirs and things, which is the materialistic possessions. But the main benefit of spending money on an experience like a vacation is the memories. The memories, the memories, the memories. Yes. So you're not only just going down there for a trip, you're going to have this memory of a really nice, extravagant trip. To this luxury, let's say it's like to a beach or a luxury resort. You're going to a nice resort. You're using the amenities of the resort. You may come across, you may meet some people, that you wouldn't have normally met in, let's say, wherever you live. You're eating good food. These are the memories that's going to last well after the vacation. So you're going to be able to hold on to these memories and be able to reflect on these memories even after, the trip has ended. That's going to contribute to your happiness because we know with the power of memory, reflecting on memories can make you happier. You can reflect on it, and a lot of times with a lot of memories, when you remember something, it can almost, if you remember it in vivid detail, it's almost like, how people say, oh, this felt like it just happened yesterday. It's kind of like that. So you'll have this lasting memory of happiness even after you've came back from the trip. hmm So, with that being said, if money isn't making you happy, if the things that you're spending money on is not making you happy, switch it up. Spend money on experiences. Because when you spend money on actual experiences like trips, things of that nature, that's going to make you more happier than say materialistic items, and your happiness is going to last longer than, let's say, just purchasing a materialistic good. But with that being said, change your mindset. Remember that you are more well off, if you're somebody with money, you're more well off than the average person. Be happy in the things that you can buy because a lot of times you're taking it for granted. Again, you're making more money than the average person. You should be happy that, you can afford, because a lot of people who are struggling, they can't spend money. Like some people are in positions where they have to choose between paying for medication or paying their light bill. Some people are unfortunately in that circumstance where they have to make difficult decisions on what they can afford month to month. So, with that being said, be glad that you're not, if you have money, be glad that you're not even in that position. You're not in that position. You have money. You have a greater array of options. You can do more than the average person. So, why is it, you have to really stop and think, why is it that with the amount of money that you have, with the amount of spending power that you have, why is it that you're not happy? That is something you would have to seek within inside yourself because, I'm not going to be able to find the answer for you. I can personally say, and again, I'm not the richest person in the world, but when I'm on jobs where I'm making more money, I feel better. I am happier. I am more grateful because I have the power to spend on more. I have the power to do much more than when I'm making less money. So, it really is a mindset thing. Change your mindset. Change your mindset. Because being able to afford, all that you desire really is a blessing. It truly is a blessing. If you're not in a financial predicament, if you can afford high price rent and, afford all these different things, please do not be one of those people because I'm not going to feel sorry for you. I'm going to admit that. And you can judge me if you want to. I don't care. If you're somebody you can afford stuff and you got money, I'm not going to feel sorry for you because you probably have more money than me. And you're sitting and you're whining and complaining about XYZ. You're unhappy with your life. Figure out, change your mindset and figure out what it is that you need to do to be happier in life, to be happier. And sometimes with life, you're not always going to be happy 100% of the time. I am someone who I've talked about on this channel. There are other positive emotions that you can feel because realistically, you're not going to feel happy 24/7. But you can feel moments of bliss, contentment, fulfillment, satisfaction. You can still feel other positive emotions other than feeling happy 100% of the time, 24/7. So, with that being said, change your mindset. Figure out what is it in your life because it may not even be the money. What is it in life that is making you unhappy? What's going on in your life that you are not feeling happy, that you're not satisfied with your life? That is something that you would have to ask yourself and really reflect on it. What is causing you to be unhappy? Because I can guarantee you it has nothing to do with the money. It's probably something else going on in your life that is stressing you out, that is making you miserable. It's not your income. Especially if if you have money, it's not your income. It's something else that's probably bothering you. hmm So really take a moment, really think about it, really reflect. What is it that's going on in your life? And solve that problem of what's going on with you so that you can feel happier about your life circumstance. And a lot of times, it's going to just be a mindset change. You just have to change your mindset and you have to change your perspective and the way you think. So, with that being said, that's all I have for this one, and I will check you later in the next one. Bye bye.